So today I thought it would be fun to flip the script and ask you guys what you find weird about Europe. I put out a call on my Patreon and on my Twitter to see what kind of response I would get. And I fully expected to get the typical stuff, but the things that you guys threw back at me blew my mind. I didn't even know that these things were actual differences. Because I live in it, I don't realize it's weird. So this list is insane. I'm probably hyping it too much. It blew my mind anyway. Before I get into the video, do be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, your armpits are going to smell like fish. That was sent to us by a commenter. Ew. So subscribe and save yourself that stinky trauma. I actually believe that's a real medical condition that happens, but anyway, let's jump into the list. Okay, the first one comes from David on Patreon, and he said that the light switches are really different. I totally didn't realize this was a Europe thing. I thought it happened there too, but now that I think about it, no, it doesn't really. So apparently in America, the light switch is always on the inside, and it's on the side where you pee. Ooh. I always thought it was just an interchangeable thing, but apparently not in America. You just have to typically go look for it here. It's either there or it's there. It could be there. Also then he pointed out that we have a lot of different types of light switch. It could be a pull string, it could be a flicky switch. It might be a button, it might be two buttons. You might need to use a key card to access it. And I thought you guys did that too in America, but apparently not so much. Also, if you're in a public place, sometimes the lights will go off after a certain period of time, assuming you've been in there a while. So now we're conserving energy of the electricity. I guess you don't have that in America? We do here. It is annoying if you're not done. Nope, I'm not done. Staying with toilet humor. John on Twitter and David on Patreon have this complaint in common. Apparently in Europe, our toilet flushers are different. Who knew? Again, this is the thing I just didn't notice, because I'm used to them all being different. I didn't equate that they were all the same when I was in America. So apparently the standard thing that you have in the United States is a single flush handle. A handle. Here in Europe, we have a handle. Sometimes we have a button. Sometimes we have two buttons on top of the cistern. Sometimes we have a string. Apparently David encountered 3 buttons. I can't think what those would be for, but yeah, it's possible. It just depends on the design of your toilet. And no, not everybody says that. That's a Diane way of saying it. Well, they do in France, but I honestly hadn't noticed that you all have the same flushers over there. Just thought I knew how to use these.
Oh, yay for me.
This next one is definitely one I have covered before, but not wholly on its own as a thing in Europe. Sam and Jason have both pointed out the lack of dryers for your clothes in Irish and European houses, as well as the fact that we keep them in the kitchen frequently. It has popped up before, and as I pointed out, the reason for this is because our places are usually a lot smaller in size than yours. I find it strange when I go to America that in order to wash my clothes, sometimes I have to leave the Airbnb that we're staying in. Like, it feels really odd to me that I'm taking my underpants for a walk. I leave the apartment and I take my underpants for a walk. Rather than put them in the kitchen though, you guys prefer to do that. So yeah. Most newer builds in Europe would have a separate place for your washer dryer, but usually the places like in Dublin that I can afford just have a washer in the kitchen, no dryer. Just have to air dry your pants. This next one really took me by surprise because I did not know that this was not the norm. Both Maureen and Jeff over on Patreon have pointed out the fact that in Europe, kids walk around in the nip, especially when they're on holidays, vacation. Yeah, this is definitely a thing that happens a lot. It's very common to see children under a certain age just walking around.
Disclaimer. She meant to say on holidays, at the pool, at the beach. They're not just running around naked all the time.
Now, I don't know if people being a lot more conscious about bad things happening out there in the world, that people are more conservative about that these days, but it's not uncommon to just see kids wandering around with their arses out. The guys pointed out that in America sometimes you'll see it if a child just runs off mid-changing or something, but yeah, no, here kids just walk around like that. It's not that strange. Like up to the age of like 3, I'd say it's deemed acceptable. After that, yeah, you're gonna get a few weird looks. Put some clothes on the baby child. This next one comes from David, and he has pointed out one that's come up here before on an American list. It's the fact that near and far mean totally different things in Europe. This cow is close, that one is far away. If you got the reference, you win $1 million. Someone will send it to you. Yeah, in America, you guys always say something's just up the road and then it happens to be an hour away, and I'm like, that was a road trip. But apparently far away in America is like a 6, 7, 8 hour drive. This one's really logical and equates to the fact that America is freaking huge. So far away and close, I did that backwards. So far away and close are two very different meanings in Europe and America. I appreciate knowing if a trip's going to be longer than an hour. If so, I'm going to need car snacks. Let me know in advance if I need snacks. Or you'll encounter cranky Diane. This next one came from Mandy on Twitter, and I legit didn't understand this and had to probe a little further. She said that people in Europe drink instant coffee a lot more than they do in America. I just thought everybody drank instant coffee. I thought it was just like the easy go-to thing that most people did everywhere. Apparently not. In America, pretty much everybody seems to have some kind of special coffee machine. Now, in recent years, since George Clooney did the fancy Nespresso ads, a lot of people in Europe have been buying special coffee machines in their kitchen. So if you're a huge coffee fan in Europe, you probably got one in the last decade. But we're not talking about everybody here. The majority of people do just drink instant coffee because it's instant. Now, a couple of people on my Twitter did point out that that's because instant coffee in Europe is a lot nicer than instant coffee in America. I can't say for sure because I've not tried instant coffee in America. Maybe you'd let me know in comments what your experience of instant coffee has been. This next one blew my mind. Chris said that in Europe we all have to wear swimming caps in swimming pools. Okay, so we don't actually have to wear them all the time everywhere, but it's definitely a thing. Apparently not so much in America. You guys told me that in America you only wear swimming caps if you're like a competitive swimmer or if you have like nits. Get itchy just thinking about them. In Europe, it's very common to be asked by a hotel to wear a swimming cap in the pool, and yes, if you're on a romantic getaway, this can be super annoying. I got my hair did, I got my nails did, and now you're asking me to put on a swimming cap? What? Apparently it's for hygiene purposes, and it does make a lot of sense, but it is very annoying if you're trying to look good, especially if you're in a fancy hotel. It's not in every hotel, but sometimes jobs where it's just really want to push that thing, and it's very much so the case if you go to a gym, you will have to wear a swimming cap. People will come up to you and they will give out to you if you're not wearing a swimming cap. They are just the most hideous things though, aren't they? They're the worst. I don't think anybody looks good in a swimming cap. Like, I can't name a single person who looks good in a swimming cap. Not that looks are everything, but come on. Sometimes you just want to look decent, don't you? And a swimming cap just ain't it. Next up, Eric pointed out on Patreon, and he got a lot of people engaged in this conversation, that in Europe, apparently we have a lot more focus on vacation and holiday time than you do in America. This is definitely one I'm going to have to plead the fifth on. I don't know if that's relevant here. I have never worked in a contract job where I got holidays. I've always worked as a freelancer in one position or another, so I've never been entitled to holidays or vacation time, but I do see my friends get mandatory vacation time. Now, a lot of times I'll hear that their bosses are saying to them, hey, listen, you've got 17 days left of vacation, you need to take it before the year is over. And they'll be like, wow, do you want to go away and party for the weekend? Not this year sucks. Apparently in America, using your vacation time can actually be a little bit taboo, I'm led to believe, and it's frowned upon if you leave certain jobs to go on vacation. Am I right in thinking a lot of that vacation time is unpaid as well? I think in Ireland and Europe, if you go on vacation, you still get paid because that's built into your contract, because that's the law. But again, I'm not super informed on this particular one, so give me some feedback in the comments, educate me, inform me. This next one made me laugh because I totally got what they were saying straight away. Raspberry pointed out the fact that in Europe, our elevators can tend to be on the teeny tiny side. And then I realized, yeah, I've never seen a teeny tiny elevator in America, ever. I guess this comes down to the fact that elevators in a lot of buildings in Europe are an afterthought, and they're kind of put into older buildings after the fact that we realized we can have elevators. Also, in most buildings in Europe, you would not be going as high as you would be in buildings in America. You guys have those high towers that like are 40, 50, 60 floors high. Not so much here. 10 floors in Ireland and you'd be looking at a pretty tall building. So it's not such a big deal to cram into a smaller elevator for a shorter period of time. I get that if you were going up 40 floors, it would be a bigger deal. Also, little aside, right now, does it freak anybody else out when they get in an elevator and somebody else gets in with the current situation going on in the world with the masks and everything? I'm like, no, I don't think we should be sharing this tiny enclosed space together. Is it just me? Or does anybody else feel that way? Get back, Satan! And the number one thing comes in from Alex, and it's number one because of the fact that I had no idea this was a difference until I started doing these videos and going to America more. It's for the very reason that it made me go, oh my god, that is a huge difference that affects my brain head. It's to do with our naming of floors, and I think again I've touched on this in another list, but it's worth mentioning in this, its own unique list. So in Europe, if you walk in off the street into a building, the floor that you were on is called the ground floor because it's on the ground. Then when you step into an elevator or climb the stairs if you're trying to be health conscious and go up a floor, that is the first floor. But not so in America. When you walk in off the street in America, the floor that you walk in on is the first floor. And then when you go up in the elevator, that's the second floor. But in Europe, it's still the first floor. See where I'm going with this? See why it's confusing? See how it affects my life dramatically? Not so much dramatically, sometimes it depends on how I'm feeling that day. In America, it seems you call both the first floor, and you additionally sometimes call it the ground floor, even though it is the first floor, but the first floor is the ground floor. Then sometimes you'll have a basement, and we also call that the basement, but then it's when you go up, it just starts getting confusing. Why did we change that? Why did we not have a meeting about it or something in the beginning of time when we decided we were naming things? Why did Europe and America not come together and say, hey, let's call these things the same thing so we don't confuse people who are on their hollybops? I don't know, if I was president of the world, that's what would happen. Anyway, let me know below in comments what things that you found weird in Europe or indeed in America when you travelled overseas. Over to Jimmy now for a couple of shout outs.
Hello everybody, I want to do a special shout out today for my friends on Patreon who are in the Comic Goals crew. This is an amazing group of people and they are the backbone of the channel and I love each and every one of them. Lots of love from Chewy and thank you all so much.
And that's it for today's list. Have a great week. I'll see you on the other side. Bye. And also, if you're in a public place, sometimes the lights will go off if you've been in most modern houses in Europe would, most newer builds in Europe. This one's really logical. Our country is small. This one's really logical. And equates to the fact. What am I looking at? Apparently it's for, don't want to go for a walk? You want to come over to mommy? Come on. I feel like I interrupted something.